speak from notes. I usually go to these events and I really speak from the hip because it's just the way I work. But I'm noticing that in the time I've been doing a lot of advocacy work and a lot of activism, that I'm getting to a point now that things are building and building and I'm getting a little too emotional. So I'm gonna try and read from notes, and then we're gonna see how it goes here. Well, the issues are getting bigger and they're getting closer. So first and foremost, I consider myself a business person, and then a chef and a farmer advocate. And what really my concern is, first and foremost, is always the health of my employees. I think any good person in any business has a business really thinks of their employees first. We like to tell you the customer comes first, but really it's the employees. But on any given day in a restaurant in New York City, someone is over a stove and an oven, minimal 12 hours straight. I can tell you I go days without having a day off. And as I hear more and more down the panel, it's getting more and more threatening, just hearing these things. I mean, these are things I know, and we all talk about them all the time, and we show up at these events and we talk about it. But when you sit here and you really hear the details, it begins to brew. And one of the first things as a food handler that we're really taught to learn about is public health. And the health of my employees and myself transfers to the health of my customers. And food handling and care is under the guidance of the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, who seems to have absolutely no concern for any of the things that we've heard about today. For all the points, and some not so practical, that we get fined for in the restaurant industry, it would be advantageous to have the H&MD consider this as we go. Over the summer, I was on a panel actually with David at the LGBT Community Center. And I was really struck by the strategy of educating more people through a panel there, because it brought the attention to the seriousness of the pipeline and fracking and radon to a community of people who have firsthand experience with compromised immune systems. And this opened up another part of my brain. Actually remember one of the first times I ever met David, and I don't know if you remember this, it was a town hall meeting downtown, and he introduced himself, because he introduces himself to everybody in any sort of city situation. And he said, "Where are you from?" And I told him, "Print restaurant." And he's like, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "Food, man." And he was like, "Food." And he said to me, I never stop learning about what affects and how things take off. And you know what, since my activism work, I have to say it keeps going. And David brought that to me. And when I think about communities that are maybe a little more off the grid and compromised, and you may not feel this way about the restaurant business because it's such a mainstream thing now, but we employ people who are always off the grid. I mean, I can tell you, I started working in a kitchen when I was a teenager, basically to keep me off the streets because no one else would take me. And it led to a very wonderful career. But the fact is that we take artists and immigrants and people who are illegal because we can use their services and they can use the employment. And this concerns me largely because most of us do not have health insurance. As I sit here now, I do not have health insurance. So when my employees are compromised and they work stressful hours and they're exposed to things, what happens? Well, it was a relief to hear that maybe we don't get cancer right away, because in my head, we get cancer right away. Everything's 1, 2, 3 as far as I'm concerned. But the fact is that a compromised immune system, even for somebody who does not have a doctorate, thank you, who didn't take physics, I'm sorry. But to me, a compromised immune system with people who work long hours, who do not have health insurance, is basically somebody handling food, who's bringing it to my customers. And in the course of every 2-hour moment that I have a restaurant full of people, and every 2 hours I get another, let's say, next 100 people, and something is transferred to somebody else, that to me is an unbelievable vehicle for a health epidemic. Because every little thing matters to us. Everything is always about health. It is about feeding people. It is about opening up very careful tunnels that we make sure germs don't go down. And the fact that there is no, I would have to say, structure for people to come in and say, you know what, this is a problem. There's nothing for me, as somebody who owns a business in New York City, to have in front of them to say no more, except to literally stop my livelihood that supports other people's livelihoods, and shut down my restaurant. Because at the rate that this is going, that is building, that it is coming into our city, this changes, once again, the way we do business. The first time being the recession, and now how does one do business by dealing with the source of heat, which cooks food, and the restaurants. There are 20,000 people that we know of on the island of Manhattan alone that work in restaurants. It is not the illegals, it is not the students who work for cash, it is not anybody else that you may not even think of, even if it's a seasonal coat check person. And everybody is exposed at all times if this keeps going. So my alternative at this point is to bring in induction, which is electric heat, into my restaurant. Problem being, what will really happen is it will cost me an enormous amount of money. And of course, as was just said, the gas structure is already in place, and that is the excuse that everybody is going to use. So at this point, I have to just say, I will sort of wrap it up because I'm getting emotional again. My notes are dwindling down. Really to please approach the city, and really whatever you can. I don't know what you do anymore. We have to write, we have to email, we have to do everything to talk to the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene and bring together a structure for those of us who have workers, who are workers, who have businesses that need to be protected from what's coming into our city. Thank you.
Actually, I encourage you to get emotional. I think the prospect of right on with your coffee is one I can certainly get very emotional about.